Barbara Robinson, and I'm here for another Lehi roller mill cooking moment. And what I'm going to show you today is how to use our cracked wheat bread mix. We have another bread mix that is a country white bread mix, but the principles are the same. The first thing I like to do is I like to take my water and put it in a bowl. It calls for, on the directions, 1 1/8 cups lukewarm water. If it gets too cold, it slows down the yeast. If it gets too hot, it's going to kill the yeast. Yeast is a living thing. All right, then I'm going to take my 1 tablespoon. I poured some yeast into this little cup here, and I personally like active dry yeast. If you're going to use active dry yeast, you need to stir it into your water and let it activate and dissolve. If you're going to use the instant fast-acting yeast, you can just go ahead and blend it with your dry ingredients with your mix, and that's just fine. Okay, so you just sprinkle this across the top. And you can actually use this same spoon to just stir it in. So I just stir it good till it's all mixed in, and then I just set it aside for 3 to 5 minutes while I go ahead in my mixer and mix up everything else. I'm going to follow the directions, which calls for 2 3/4 cups bread mix. You're just going to fill it, take a knife or a straight edge, chop it across the top to fill in any air bubbles that might be inside, and then just slide it across the top. But I'm chopping across the top to get any air bubbles out, and then I'm leveling it. 3/4 of a cup. I've got a 1/4 of a cup measuring here. And there's the nice has cracked wheat in it, which adds to the fiber. I'm going to just pour the water in. Be sure to put the lid on. It's a safety issue. Okay, and now we're going to put it on the low setting. And just let it go for just a couple of minutes. You want it to pull away from the sides. Clean up those sides. Not stick to the bottom. So I'm going to turn it off now and check and see how wet it is. So make sure it's off. I'm going to put my hand in here, and it feels just right. See how that's a little sticky? It's sticking to me. But you'll notice when I turn it on, it's cleaning the sides and it's cleaning the bottom of the mixer, and that's what you want. I'm going to turn it on 1 and let it mix for 15 minutes. All right, our 15 minutes is up. All right, so now it's mixed for 15 minutes. You can see how clean the sides are, but it's still just a little sticky. Now I'm going to take another bowl. It can be glass, metal, plastic, whatever. I'm going to spray it with cooking spray. Okay? Drop it in there. The bottom of your dough is getting a little bit of oil. Okay, so I like to just get my fingers under the edge and tuck it in. And you can tell how it just gives it a smooth bottom here. And then I'm just going to take the whole thing and turn it over so we have a smooth top. Just like that. Now I'm going to cover it with oil, or with a plastic wrap, and I'm going to let it rise till it's double in height, which takes probably around 30 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes, depending on how cold your kitchen is. I have already mixed up some dough. Now this is the country white. Same principles though. This is already risen, and I punched it down a couple of times. So I'm going to, can you tell how much that had risen? And I touch it and it falls down. And I am going to flour my surface here. Just a little bit more. Now I'm going to take this, and I'm actually only going to use about half of it, because this is double the amount that I just mixed up for you. I will just cut it in half. So I'm just going to put that back in there. Cover it with plastic. This is important. If you don't cover it with something, it develops a little skin and doesn't stay as moist, and it just keeps it nice and soft. So so I'm going to use this. Notice how it has a smooth side to it and a side that you're tucking the ends into. Okay, we're going to put smooth side up and just flatten it out as much as you can with your hands. If you have big knuckles, you can go like this. I don't have big knuckles, so I go like this. I've got a little bit of that cracked wheat dough in there. I like to just lightly flour it so it doesn't stick to it. And you start from the center and roll out. Start from the center, roll out. Your goal is to get to a rectangle, not a circle. One rectangle. Here. Okay. Now, this is one of my favorite tools, and you can buy it in any cooking store. I've seen them in the grocery stores. Anyway, if it's a little sticky, you can take it and lift it up like that. I like to flip it over, flatten it a little more. I take it up a third, take my hand and just seal it into each. Then you take the top third, fold it down, and you start from the fold edge and move towards the outer edge here, trying to get as many gas bubbles out as you can. The gluten, which allows the gas to contract, and it traps it there. So when you punch it down, you're letting the gas release, and that's why all of a sudden the dough collapses on you. Okay, now I like to look at this as being like a doggy bone shape. Now, this is the part that takes a little bit of practice, but believe me, you'll get it. I like to get my thumbs right up underneath there, and I roll it in, and with these fingers I'm pressing it in. And then at the same time I'm tucking in the ends. So I take my thumbs, press it in, tuck it in. Take my thumbs, press it in, and you can even press in with these fingers. Tuck it in. Take my thumbs, press it, because you want to seal it as much as you can. And then pretty soon it gets rolling up pretty easy. But it's mainly this kind of a motion and pressing down. So this kind of a motion, pressing down. This motion, pressing down. And you don't want to pull it too tight or you're going to get your dough tearing. Now I just like to put it on a little bit of flour there. Kind of finish pinching off the ends. And see how the end is pretty much tucked in, so you don't have to worry about that. You're going to spray it with cooking spray again. One's smooth, one has the seam in it. So you're going to put the smooth side down, kind of shake your pan back and forth to get it greased. Put your hand on the bottom of it, tip it upside down, tip it out, and then just tip it over a bit, tuck your ends under. Because you do like that football shape, because that's what gives you the nice round top rather than just the flat top. But you want to have a little bit of space on the end, each end. And cover it again so you don't get a thin film. It's about 1.5 inches to 2 inches above the pan. And put it in a preheated 350-degree oven. And you're going to bake it for 30 to 35 minutes. Now there are 2 ways to tell if your bread's done. One is to just pull it out a little bit, tap it. If it sounds hollow, then you know it's done. Or another thing you can do, if you can actually tip it on its side and see if the bottom is brown. The sides are golden brown as well. It sounded good when I tapped it, so it's done. You dump it onto your countertop if you have one that can take heat. And just set it on a rack and let it cool down. Be sure it's cool for 1.5 hours to 2 hours before you slice it, and enjoy it. And I just want to tell you thanks for joining with us. I'm Barbara Robinson, and we had a great